And Leslie. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Now, at the UN's International Maritime Organization meeting, your government voted in favor of new net zero carbon tax on shipping. Witnesses told this committee that that tax could cost up to $500 per ton, which will obviously get passed on to Canadians through higher prices of everything that we buy that's shipped here. Do you have any idea whatsoever what this is going to cost Canadians through higher prices?
Thank you for that question, and through you, Mr. Chair. This has been a long-going issue that I hear from questions coming from the Conservatives, which is that the idea that any action on climate change is a net negative, not only for our country, but for the world. We know that the impacts of climate change
I'm just looking for the cost of the tax. If implemented, do we has the department or have done any estimates on what the tax would cost the average item in Canada and therefore Canadians that's passed on to?
So as far as the policies that we have in place, we already, and I have said this before, but actions such as the industrial carbon price do not increase the cost of food for Canadians, do not. And so when we're talking about the actual policies that we have in place in Canada, we do actually, whenever we pass a regulation, provide a regulatory assessment, which is made available. It's transparent and available.
Thank you, Minister. I look forward to seeing that once that tax is implemented. But you talked about the policies that are still in place, and for years, you defended every major climate policy that this government has introduced: the carbon tax on consumers, the $2 billion tree planting program, the emissions cap on oil and gas, the greenwashing regulations, the EV mandate. Then overnight, they have been delayed, watered down, or abandoned entirely. Now, every time one of these policies seems to collide with reality, it falls apart. So what should Canadians conclude from this pattern of you supporting policies and then having to step back from them?
I think what Canadians should take from the work that our government is doing is that we are working forward for policies that are collaborative, meet the needs of Canadians, and fight climate change. We have very much set forward, and it says it in the climate competitiveness strategy, which was in the budget, that we are working to strengthen the industrial carbon price, strengthen methane regulations. We're working on a taxonomy for investment guidelines. We are taking real actions, and we're doing that in collaboration with provinces and territories and making sure that Canadians are at the centre of our policies.
Thank you, Minister. Somebody not at the centre that used to be at the centre, former Environment and Energy Minister Jonathan Wilkinson, publicly said that your new climate competitiveness strategy isn't a climate strategy at all. Do you agree with him? Is he wrong?
We have a climate strategy, which is our emissions reductions plan, and we provide progress reports based on that emissions reductions plan. The climate competitiveness strategy is really the economic piece, putting in place things that were envisioned by the emissions reduction plan, but also going further in some places. It is not the emissions reductions plan. That is a separate document. It is a tool to move forward on climate competitiveness.
Yeah, no, thank you for raising that. The Environment Commissioner, the PBO, the independent experts, pretty much everyone except for yourself, has agreed that you will not hit the Paris targets as originally intended. Can you finally admit that your emissions reduction plan is not working and will not achieve the targets that you've laid out?
Well, I am the Environment Minister, first of all, but second of all, when you're talking about the PBO report, specifically did not take into account the climate competitiveness strategy. And if we were going to take into account,
how you just said it wasn't a climate strategy.
No,
why would we need to take that into account?
I didn't say that. I said there was an emissions reductions plan. That the climate competitiveness strategy does not replace the emissions reductions plan.
So everybody else is wrong in saying that we're not going to hit these targets, and you're right, and everyone else is wrong?
What I have said, if you'd let me complete that one, is that we always knew that the targets would be ambitious. We could set low targets. We could have stood by lower targets, and they would be easy to meet. This requires us to stretch. We're determined to keep doing the work to meet them.
Could you tell me the gap in raw numbers between what we expect the 2030 target, what the 2030 target is, and where we are going to end up in 2030? What is that gap right now?
So an emissions reductions plan will be provided by the end of this year, which will provide more details as to exactly where those different numbers stand. But by the way, the commitment to continue doing the work remains. And I think that that's a very important piece. And I would hope that the Conservatives would be willing to support us, because all I hear from Conservatives is that they keep on wanting to remove every single thing we do.
You're going to keep on keeping on, and that's great. Could you tell this committee if there's any specific environmental or climate policy that is simply non-negotiable? It is a red line that would, if crossed, have you resign just like Minister Guilbeault did?
Is there a single environment policy or climate change policy that the Conservatives will support and help us actually move forward on?
I'm here to ask you the questions. This is not about you asking a member of the opposition questions. This is about you answering a question. Is there a line in the sand of a specific environmental or climate policy that if this government, despite your objections, decided to remove, you would have to resign over just like Minister Guilbeault did?
My goal in everything I do is that we keep working to move our country to a low-carbon economy, to net zero, that we keep doing the work that we need to do. It's important for our future generations, and it's important to make sure that we're globally competitive.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Mr. Leslie.